Hair loss is one of the most emotional wellness battles that people can face. And today's guest not only reversed it, but she has helped thousands of others do the same. Naturally, without meds, and she's doing it right here in Boise, Idaho, near me. Welcome to the Life Lounge podcast, your front row seat to everything happening inside Life Network. I'm your host, Karie Johnson, and each week we bring you top voices, transformational brands, and insider updates you won't want to miss. This is where self-transformation meets community, because when we grow together, we go farther. So let's dive in. So today's guest, Johanna Dahlman, is the founder of Alopecia Angel, a health and high-performance hair growth coach, professional international speaker, and host of the Alopecia Angel podcast, Awaken to Hair Growth. Through her personal struggle with autoimmune alopecia, she now helps others worldwide reverse and heal hair loss naturally without medications, defying the odds across many types of hair loss. She has served thousands of children and adults in over 67 countries, with 90% seeing hair growth in less than 8 weeks. Welcome, Johanna, to the Life Lounge podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Karie. It's an honor.
Oh my goodness. So I am so grateful. So we had a mutual friend introduced us about a month or so ago, and we live, not too far from each other. And so we're going to have to do this in person another time, do a podcast episode in person. So, but I'm so excited and just grateful to have met her, because just hearing her story when we first met, it's like, oh my gosh, we need to bring her on the Life Lounge podcast so our members in Life Network can get to know her and just the struggles that she's dealt with, because many people deal with certain, autoimmune struggles, alopecia, and I kind of want to bust through some of the myths of a lot of people think they do have to go through medications and in order to heal it. And you have, you've dealt with this. So can you take us on a little journey? Just tell us your story, what this took from you and how you got your power back. I want to hear.
Yeah. So one of the myths going into this conversation is that you would have to think that you're unhealthy. And in some cases, you think that that's the case, but in other cases, it doesn't paint the full picture. So at the time I was diagnosed at the hair salon, I was the healthiest ever. I had abs to show for it. I had a personal trainer. I was single in my early 30s, working out 3-4 hours a day, living in Miami, working for Apple, and living my best life. And when I decided to move to Denver, this is when I noticed the bald spot, when the bald spot came to me, because it was in the back of my head and I didn't see it. So the only time someone could see it was when they're parting my hair for highlights.
Yeah.
And one hairdresser said it to me, and then another one did. And he said, Johanna, you have alopecia. You need to go see a doctor. That was probably the worst advice he could ever give me. Because I started to see doctor after doctor, and none of them helped me. None of them could get to the root cause. None of them, with their lotions, potions, serums, and cortisone shots, were giving me results. And not only that, but then when you start looking into the side effects of all these things, then your health gets hindered in other areas and in other ways. So at the time, I had just met my husband, future husband, now husband, and we were dating. And, when you start in this relationship, you think, okay, marriage and then babies and kids and everything, starting a family. And what I noticed with a lot of these alopecia meds is that it hampers your fertility for both men and women.
Yikes.
And so this is something that there should be a black box warning. There should be an open conversation about this, especially to any young person. And it wasn't. There was no conversation. It was just like, these are your options and that's it. I moved to the Netherlands. I saw doctors there, and they told me, stop wearing a ponytail. We have nothing for you. We can't do anything. Which, looking back now, I'm not surprised, because I also had strep throat over there. And they're like, sorry, can't do anything for you either. So you're dealing with a bare bones healthcare system,
Right.
Which isn't for you. It's really budget conscious and
True.
Detrimental to probably every aspect of health I encountered. Moving forward, more and more spots of these round bald spots started appearing, and they started connecting. As time proceeded, I started losing eyelashes, eyebrows, and an extra itch of forehead.
Oh my
And
gosh.
because the spots were in the back, I'm trying to grab my phone, trying to see and picture this and trying to understand and monitor how this is progressing
Mm-hmm.
without realizing that this inch of forehead is coming up.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Because I stopped looking at myself forward wise and I was just focused and obsessed with the back.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um, because that's where everything was happening. On top of that, I was shedding all over like crazy, like I owned a dog, which I never did. And so um all these things started putting my denial of what was happening into full gear.
Yeah.
And this is where the immediate reaction of, going doctor to doctor, trying to see specialists, trying to see people who specialize in alopecia, dermatologists of all sorts, with nothing to show for it. And I still didn't understand what was wrong.
Yeah.
And so through my healing journey and having worked for Apple before,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of looked outside the box and I thought to myself, if I always had big curly hair, why now all of a sudden when I'm at my peak health
True.
am I losing it? Why all of a sudden is this diagnosis coming about?
Yeah.
Well, then I worked backwards and then I was able to take steps to move forward. And it took me a good, 2.5, 3, 4 years to come to full circle and have all these symptoms because it wasn't just the hair loss. When you have autoimmune diseases, or in my case, autoimmune alopecia, it wasn't just the hair loss. It was brain fog, memory loss. It was anxiety, depression, things that I had never felt or even encountered before. It was also sleepless nights, insomnia. It was lack of motivation,
Mm-hmm.
lethargy. I couldn't even get on the treadmill. Yeah, I would make it up to the gym, but then I wouldn't be able, I would just sit there because there was no gumption. There was no force of nature to come out to allow me to actually work out. And so I could see that my performance wasn't the same as months or years passed, and I still wasn't connecting the dots. And
Mm-hmm.
so then once I started um, taking things in a holistic approach, I said no to all the meds and really just worked backwards to move forward. But it was long, that was a long route,
Yeah.
but it was worth it because
Right.
at the end of it, not only did I get my hair back, but all the other symptoms removed itself. And then when I was 40, I got pregnant naturally on the first
Yeah.
try. So, I
Wow.
mean, there was a big full circle moment of health because once you upgrade your health, as you know, everything upgrades, including the fertility, including all these other aspects that maybe we're not even thinking about. So, the memory loss, the insomnia, the depression, anxiety, all this just lifted off like a veil. And it literally happened just one day where a lot of these symptoms came off. And then all of a sudden I started seeing more and more hair growth and more healing. And then I knew I was on the right track.
Right.
And I think that's what gave me a relief, but at the end of the day, it was a lot of faith, determination, resilience, and tenacity to move forward and keep picking myself up because this journey of any chronic disease or any diagnosis, including hair loss, is devastating, and it puts you in a mass confusion because there's so much misinformation out there, and it puts you almost at the whim of quote unquote doctors and healthcare practitioners when many times they don't have the answers either. They're going by medical textbooks. Medical textbooks say, hey, there's no cure for alopecia. And so this in it of itself already stops people from looking further. Those limiting beliefs are very difficult to overcome if you don't have a strong mental framework. And again, I knew that this was possible. And so I wanted to move forward and, thankfully and thank God that I was able to get over it, not just for my own sake, right? This all started for my own sake, but then once I had answers, then I knew others needed to know because it didn't make sense that it took me this long to figure this out and so much struggle, so much, tears and anxiety and angst, just days of just absolute numbness and confusion as
Mm.
to where to go, what's my next step, what am I going to do, and all these what ifs and uncertainty. I think that's the worst part is the uncertainty about it. And now I'm so certain that no hair loss will ever be a part of my life because I
Uh,
know how to control it.
yeah.
Just anything else, whether it's diet or weight or your blood pressure. Once you figure out what works for you, then you can go ahead and not just help others, but then also ensure that it no longer wavers. And that certainty is yours because you take your power back and you control it.
100%. Oh my gosh, mic drop. Oh, wow. Okay, so powerful. So how long was like start to finish of the whole entire journey?
It must have been a good 3.5 years, give or take, you know? Once I started seeing the hair growth and all these symptoms come off, I started to be less and less obsessive about the hair growth. Like, I knew it was coming, it
Yeah.
was there, and so now it was just moving forward and not just creating more hair growth, but then 10Xing it. And now I grow an inch of hair a month, which, again, I can track with my highlights and those gray hairs. So
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah, you have gorgeous, gorgeous hair. So is it even like before this all happened? Is your hair similar to what it was before, or is it even better?
it's even better than when I was in my late 20s. So in my 30s, right before being diagnosed, my hair was phenomenal. And probably a good portion of that was living in Miami with the humidity
Yeah.
and,
Like,
it's great for glowing skin. Like humidity is a good thing for curly hair. Um, then when I was in alopecia and in that time, it was straw, super dry. It was brittle. It looked very fried, just very lifeless, and I'm very manageable. Like, I couldn't do anything to make it do what it needed to do, and even the curls were less and less and less, and I didn't understand why.
wow.
But then now, post, everything is so much better. It's healthier, it's shinier. Yes, I still get highlights, which, can disrupt and hurt hair texture and integrity. However, there's ways to mitigate that. So even with the hair growth, even with the thickness, the density, it just keeps,
Getting better.
compressing and getting
Yeah.
better.
I mean, that's incredible because yeah, I know you're in your early 40s. I'm in my mid 40s and it's yeah, it's a real thing. Like and I have gone through periods of time for like where I've lost like shedded hair, but and I notice it's when I'm more stressed. And thankfully, same thing, like I know how to manage it too. And like I just it's so incredible that you had that intuition f- even throughout the brain fog of like, no, I'm not going to listen to the conventional medicine route. And there is a different path. It's just incredible that you have that innate within you. Do you know where that came from? Like, is that how you were
Yes, I
raised or?
do. I do. I went to private Catholic school my whole life, and I always questioned adults. So much so
I love it.
so much so where, as a child talking to authority, in the 80s, it was almost considered like talking back, disrespectful, all these things, right, that you would be punished for. But for me, it was like innate. I questioned always authority. I questioned like why they were doing things, why, let's say, punishment equaled this or that. And so that innate voice questioning was always there. And just because someone's wearing a lab coat doesn't mean that they have, the keys to heaven or anything. It just has me question like their reasoning, their experience, their expertise, and also their results. So now, whether it's, pregnancy, fertility, Alzheimer's, or anything else, I question the people who are sitting and speaking because I wanna see results, and that's something I never got from any doctor. I never saw before and after pictures. I never saw client testimonials, and so
Just the negative side effects of the non-fertility.
well, I saw a lack of experience and expertise. This is like saying, "Yeah, I can cut a piece of meat, but are you truly a butcher who knows exactly how to slice and dice the piece of meat?" Versus, saying, "Yes, we can do this, and it'll happen in this amount of time." There's a different confidence level of working and having been there, done that. And so this is why I started Alopecia Angel because I knew I could help others. And then when I started receiving all these testimonials and the
Yeah.
client feedback, and not just in pictures, but also in videos, I was just like, this is what people need. They don't need just, to give their power away to a lab coat thinking like they have the answers when in reality they don't.
Yeah, and maybe not most people, I think more people are getting more and more awakened to, not trusting things verbatim from just a person in a white coat, so, questioning that, and gosh, like, that is such a blessing that you did have that innate, like, within you from the beginning, from the get-go, I love that, and that's just, like, a testimony to just, like, because we're both moms too, and sometimes we get so or sometimes I do at least, get I'm like, why are you questioning me, like to my kids and stuff. But is it such a good skill? Like you want people, everybody should be questioning anything that's put out there, especially on the internet nowadays. And it's like there's so much false information. So I love that you have just turned your path into an incredible mission. And so can you pinpoint why this happened though?
I can. Um, I can. And it's never just one thing. When it comes to healing hair loss, and let me just break it down like this. Let's say I had a twin sister, and let's say me, my twin sister, my mom, my aunt, my grandma all had hair loss, whether it was all autoimmune or all scarring or all telogen effluvium or what have you.
Mhm.
A lot of people come to me thinking, oh, it was COVID. Oh, this is, postpartum and it just hasn't stopped 5 years later. Or this is because of XYZ and it just hasn't stopped. And yes, I hear you. I understand you. And for those of you listening to this, I understand you where you're coming from because I was there in those shoes too. But what I'm telling you now is that healing hair loss is a recipe. It's multiple ingredients. What I like to say, it's a big puzzle piece of like 1,000 puzzle pieces. And we're not always going to have the same puzzle pieces to our full puzzle picture, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like for some people, diet is a big contributing factor, but I already had abs to show for it. I was already lean. And in order to get lean, your diet has to be really tweaked.
Interesting.
So, you know what I mean? So like my diet was already really nailed down. So it wasn't so much, let's say, diet piece because I wasn't doing, all the junk foods. I wasn't doing fast food. I wasn't doing a lot of things. But at the same time, there were other areas that I needed more support in, and potentially I didn't know how to support myself, or I didn't even know that it correlated to alopecia. And so, like I said, just like any diagnosis, it's bottling up in yourself
Right.
over years. It just doesn't happen overnight. And many times we like to think, oh, this just happened overnight, like my kid's strep throat. Well, maybe not. It's happening over, days and weeks, maybe even months, and it's coming together like a volcano about to burst.
Goodness.
And so when healing it, you have to think it's never just one thing. And I think this is the problem with the healthcare beauty industry is that, you go see the dermatologist and they just want to give you the cortisone shots. They want to give you the JAK inhibitors. They want to give you, the minoxidil. That's not going to work long term. At some point, your body's going to backfire and say, this isn't working for me. And this is why I have all these other side effects and all these other health problems because of the meds. So, um, when healing, you have to look at everything holistically, because we're not all at the same journey or at the same, contexture of our situation. We may all have hair loss, different types or the same, but the healing is going to look different. The blind spots are going to look different. And also how you curate that to each person. So for example, I've helped people who are breastfeeding and who don't want to lose their milk or have that, decrease in production. I've been working with people who live on a cruise ship because they're entertainers and, they do like ice skating on cruise ships.
So cool.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
that's not me, that's not you. We
No.
don't live on cruise ships.
Very
And
different.
also not subjected to cruise ship food. So that's also gonna look different to each person. I have
Mhm.
people who live in hotels because they're in corporate and they work so much from a hotel where that's just their home base. I have people who are on disability, people who, are in their 80s, and so their pace and their situation is gonna look different than the 20-year-old in a college dorm.
True.
You see how you still have to structure it to each person. And so this is the beauty of getting the personalized care, something that if you start looking around, everything is a one size fits all. The Viviscals, the Nutrafols, the Minoxidils, the muesli, the shampoos, the serums, the lotions, potions, it's all a one size fits all.
Yeah.
None of that is looking at you as a whole person, at your health goals beyond hair growth
Mhm.
or anything else. Or even, let's say, if you're on medication. Let's say if you're on thyroid medication or if you're on hormone replacement therapy, like these need to be factored in. I've had clients who have had cancer treatment or are currently in cancer treatment. That's going to also look different to the person who doesn't have cancer.
Right. So is that kind of what sets your program apart? It's more of an individualized approach. And so your program is called Hair and Heal, correct? Yeah. Okay. So can you tell me just a little bit more about the Hair and Heal program and how you help people, like we said, worldwide, cruise ships, hotels, like dorm people, kids as well as adults, right? Okay. Yeah. Give me a little bit of breakdown. So if people are curious about that.
Yeah. So I work with people as young as 8 months who are breastfeeding to 80 plus years old. I think my youngest client was, 80, 83 years old. And so everything in between, even men and little boys, little girls, and women, of course, who have various types of alopecia. And what it is we start with a 12-page intake form. Then from there, we have a personalization, all my recommendations for you personally, because many times you have to go step by step. You can't just throw everything to the wall because that's where we overwhelm, our system and then us as well. And so then from there, it's a step-by-step approach. It's week by week. You can take as long as you need. It's at your own pace. So you can go as fast as you want or as slow as you want because that's the beauty of it. The person who's 20 might go a little faster than the person who has, 4 kids, 5 kids, and has a, full plate of things on them. So it's all going to look a little different. We also offer worldwide functional medicine testing, which is huge because when I lived in Europe, I didn't have access. I mean, not even to like,
Yeah.
not even to like good basic healthcare. It was very, very simple.
How long were you there again?
6 years. Too long. Not too long.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that played a huge part in the
That played a huge part because the thing is, if we don't have access to gold standard functional medicine testing, then we're already at a loss.
Mhm.
And the other side of that too is that if you think about not just Americans, but everyone outside of the US, they don't have access to it. That's just the reality of it. They don't have access to it. It's not so common because their healthcare systems are more universal, or they're having to find and search, and it's not so easy to find and search someone who not just has maybe the title, but then also has the experience and expertise
Right.
in alopecia. That's a different thing. And so I've had many friends, being in your 40s, you have many friends who've gone through different fertility routes. And I almost like to compare it to fertility because everybody wants to, raise their hand and say, yeah, I can help you with your pregnancy, with your fertility journey,
Mhm.
but not everyone can. And in the same aspect, everybody wants to help you with hair loss, but not everyone can. And this is where now, very keen eye, I'm looking for results. I'm very results driven. And so it's like, if you don't have, for example, the midwife who delivered my baby, thankfully, she had over 3,000 births underneath
That's a lot.
her belt. I know that's more than most doctors, right?
Goodness. Wow.
And so thankfully, I ended up with her because in the Netherlands, I wasn't allowed to see any doctor just because that's the stipulation of their healthcare system.
Mhm.
And like I said, thankfully, I ended up with her versus someone who just recently who graduated from midwifery school, who doesn't know what they're doing and who could fumble a situation. And so, experience and expertise, understanding the ins and outs of it is so important and so key. And this is why the frustration builds not just with hair loss, but with so many other diseases because we keep going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And in general, it takes women in general 10 to 15 doctors to actually get a true diagnosis of what's going on. And so that's a lot of time and money wasted on, people who can't get you to the finish line.
Yeah. Frustrating, self-defeating, like you're like at a loss at that point. You're like, I've tried everything, nothing's working. You've lost faith in everything, in yourself too, probably, just because it's affecting everything. Your mood and like you said, like you had that tenacity and that grit to kind of keep going and searching for so long, probably because like there was this mission behind like that was coming and birthing out of you. So I think that was part of it too, which is crazy.
I will say going bald was not an option. That was not an option for me. I would have done anything.
Mhm.
And when I'm saying anything, it's truly anything because now you actually have, the results to see it. I truly did everything to get to where this came about.
Well, because, women specifically, and probably men too, but, that is their identity and their worth is like a lot of it is tied to their hair and just how they feel about themselves. It's like their crown and glory, right?
100%. I wouldn't lose it for anything. And so it was my mission. It was, if there was anything I was focused on, it was definitely the hair growth and the health because you don't really actually realize how priceless health is and how much it's married to hair growth and how both are correlated together.
Right. And that is like we've talked about, like the root cause. And it's like not just like slapping on a Band-Aid. And that's what, many times, and even like you said, like just the typical supplements that are out there right now, or prescription medications to improve your hair growth. But that's just, it's like a one size fits all, like you were saying. And it's just like a slap on a Band-Aid. This is how it's going to be. And it's going to help maybe for a bit. But what's causing this? Like, go get down to the root cause of this. And like, you're getting these other symptoms, or there's something going on in your body. So let's dig and find it out. So, oh, wow. You've helped, just so many people, and the stories that you could share. Is there one that comes to mind that sticks out, like one of your most just powerful, one of the stories that you love so much that you've helped?
So many. There's many times where clients start working with me years later. So let's say they find me today. So in like 3-4 years, they start working with me for one reason or another, and things progressively get worse. So what I'd like to say is that waiting is not a strategy. It's only going to open the door to more, to more hair loss and to more issues. In 2 weeks, the same client who told me she waited 4 years saw hair growth in just 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And this is actually very common. Once you start tweaking and changing diet, lifestyle, and all these other factors, you start to see huge, massive progress. And so this is the beauty of it. It's like working with a personal trainer. You can start seeing definition. You can start seeing weight loss in just 2 weeks, just by changing a lot of things.
Right.
And so I have a gut health coach in Australia who has had hair loss for 20 years. This is actually just recently.
What?
20 years.
Oh my
hair loss.
gosh. And they're a gut health coach.
He's a gut health coach. She's done it all in Australia. She came to me. You're never going to believe it. In 24 hours, the hair loss stopped. In 24 hours.
Oh my gosh. What did you do? It's like magic wand.
I know, right? I gave her recommendations, but the thing is, it's like her body was already very like attuned and prepped. So once these changes happen, it's just like it took it on automatically. Because at the end of the day, what I want your listeners and everyone to know is that your body's not broken. Your body isn't failing you. It wants to thrive. It wants to heal. It wants to be, its best, but it needs us to support it. So if we're not supporting it correctly, then we're always going to have issues. Yeah, it's just like maintaining a car. If you're not maintaining the car, you're not going to go very far.
Yeah, oil
So
change.
this is the same thing. And many times it's just something, like I say, blind spots. We all have blind spots. And I think that's what prolonged my hair loss journey even longer than what it should have been. And this is why my clients see hair growth in less than 8 weeks, because I can see what they can't see. Sometimes when you're in it, you can't see what's all around you. And so I actually do have many healthcare providers who do my program, from nutritionists, dietitians, pharmacists, nurses, functional medicine doctors, you name it. They do the program because, again, we all have blind spots. We're not the experts in that.
Right.
And so it's really a true calling for me. But at the same time, once you know what's holding you back, then you can soar. Then you can like move and propel yourself faster.
So it's a healing, not just of the body, but it's like a full soul transformation.
It's 100%. It's very transformative, mind, body, spirit, I like to say, because it will take all of you to get you to that next level.
100%. Mind, body, spirit, and community too, right? Like being surrounded by the right people, like yourself.
Like mindset. Yep.
Yeah.
The right mindset. Yeah, that's key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if your mindset is not ready to receive this, then it's not going to change and accept, and the body's not going to start to heal. So it's all a part of it. Oh my gosh. So people will come to you to take your program who have these, issues and side effects and things like that. But like you had talked about some of the other practitioners, are they coming this to learn from this to help other clients that they might not be able to help as well?
Normally they come for their own issues
Okay.
or their children's issue.
Okay.
So I see a lot of children as well, where parents do the program for their children. And, with children, you're also navigating, as you know, as a mom, you navigate the different ages, what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do, if they're picky eaters or not, or, what's possible in their school system and everything else. And so it's really bridging the gap of how to navigate their own child. So you become like almost like a family member for them.
Oh, yeah.
And navigate and help them make this easier for the family,
Mm-hmm.
for the parents who are implementing everything, and then also for the child to receive it. So many times, as you know, children don't want to hear it from their parents. And so they come to me, we talk about it, and then it clicks and they're like, okay. And so then they become more compliant, more obedient, and doing the whole program.
Right.
And that's where they see results. And so this is huge because, for children especially, there's a lot of bullying. There's a lot of suicide that's not talked about in the alopecia community. One
Wow.
recently here, it happened maybe about 2 years ago. She was
Mhm.
12 years old, and from the outside on social media and her with her friends and her community, she was like, "Oh, I'm strong. I'm better than the bald, and I'm beautiful still, even with being bald."
Yeah.
But then, lo and behold, she committed suicide. So
No.
internally, it's something that was eating at her. And at the end of the day, we're all humans, and it eats at us, whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And I say this because, even in the medical community, there's also a lot of suicide too. That's not talked about.
Right.
And so these are things that when you talk about them, then we have more awareness. And especially as parents, we like to go to the doctor, get the medication and be done, but that's not always the best route. And especially it's not for alopecia. I've seen children who are like boys who are 15 and they're taking alopecia meds,
Oh,
but this is also hindering their erectile dysfunction and, their propensity for fertility later on in life. And so we have to be very
yikes.
mindful, watchful, and observant of what we're giving and doing for our children because you know, it can give them a different path in their future, which unknowingly, knowingly wouldn't be the best.
100%. Yeah, and that just breaks my heart about that girl story. And then, like you said, like so many other people, like because it is some of our self-worth and identity. And yeah, but then even just taking those little medications and as a parent, like you said, it's like sometimes we just want to give them this thing that's going to like be a quick fix, but the side effects of that are not always helpful. So that's incredible that you help every single person out there. And I'm sure this whole entire process has kind of shaped how you parent maybe as well. Is that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That it does. I mean, um, having gone through this, now my whole goal is to avoid anything and everything for my child. So keeping him as healthy as possible,
Mhm.
giving him the foundational health that we need in every aspect and, doing our best. No parent is perfect. I know we all strive for that, but it doesn't exist. And
Oh,
so there's a lot of grace on my side, but I also continue to educate myself because I think parenting is just like any other skill, like playing the guitar. Like, it only gets better with practice, but, like, focused practice, right? You have to be really intentional.
insistence.
So
Mhm.
yes, that too. So it's doing I think about my mom and other parents and how they parent, and I'm trying to parent from, like, what his needs are. How can I meet his needs as much as possible? And
Yeah.
then also, show him compromise and show him, sharing and all these other virtues that are needed in order to be successful in life. Um, but yeah, just being attuned to his needs, because many times, you think it's the tantrum and it's really he's hungry.
You're right. Yeah. Hungry, thirsty. What's that? It's like the halt. Um,
Sleep.
is it? Yeah, sleep. Oh yeah, there's so many like those little things, like so just those basic needs. Like if those aren't being met, then yes, our body starts to like act up. And so it's just like those little things. What about is he a questioner like you are, your son?
He's very curious. He does question a lot. We just got back from a family reunion and wedding week, and all his uncles and aunts and grandparents too were so surprised at how curious he is, how many questions he asks, and they're intentional questions. It's not just a question and to bug you and like, poke at you. It's
Yeah.
really to understand more. He wants to understand like 360 everything that's going on and going into either a sport or an action or a decision or anything else. So he definitely questions just like me,
I love.
which is helpful, is very
Yeah.
helpful because I could tell he's very tenacious as well, and he won't be just, bulldozed over.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, and that can be hard to parent sometimes. Like when we maybe we're tired ourselves, we're like, oh, I can't deal with another question and things like that. But encouraging that too as much as possible is so good for them. So oh my goodness. Okay. So I have a couple questions that I pulled from some of our community inside Life Network, kind of debunking some myths that are out there. So I would love to know, okay, thoughts on collagen.
Okay.
Good,
So
bad.
collagen,
Yeah.
I highly, highly agree with. Now, you want to make sure it's grass fed. You want to make sure that there's no other additives. And for that next level, I would also say double check to see if it is third party tested for any heavy metals or any other ingredients in there, because that's really important. Just because it has an organic label, just because it has a grass-fed label, just because it has like a non-GMO label, doesn't mean it's the end all be all. There's heavy metals and so many things. Like I just saw an article actually showcasing all the different types of cinnamon, whether it's from Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or
Right.
Penzeys, or anywhere else.
Right.
And lo and behold, a lot of those cinnamons, depending on which one, has very high levels of lead in it. And so, you're finding heavy metals everywhere. So if you can get and ensure that it's third-party tested,
Yeah.
it's huge. Third-party testing doesn't cost much. It's only like $125.
Really?
And that's what the company should be paying for, to give this extra level of safety and security. And so that's what I expect. Those are like my standards.
So good. Yeah. On all across all levels, even just our spices in our cupboard. So I'm glad that you brought that up. What is there a certain brand of collagen that you typically like?
I do. It's called Puori, Puori.
Yes.
It is third-party tested, and so that's the one I choose.
Do they
You
also
can get it on Amazon.
do they also on Amazon too? Do they have a coffee line as well? Puori
Not that I know of. I only get the collagen.
collagen. Okay. And then what about castor oil?
Castor oil. Castor oil is great for a hair mask. You can definitely add it in. It is very tacky. I know a lot of people like to do it for either a liver cleanse or some sort of cleanse, and when they ingest it, I've only done that once. It's one of those things where if it agrees with you, go for it. If it doesn't, then maybe not. But I think when you add it into your shampoos or any hair mask, I think that'd be absolutely helpful.
Okay. Good tips. And then any certain foods that may help or maybe hurt hair recovery?
This is actually very individualized, only because, there's so many people with allergies and, aversions, and people who don't eat so many things that potentially I've been exposed to. Europeans, having lived in Europe, having lived in Japan, Brazil, and Argentina, there's it's much more than just kind of like a very Americanized version of their foods. And so you start to see exactly that they cook with a pig snout, that they cook with, chicken feet, and that they eat liver, and they do this and they do that. And so seeing all these different cultures and having lived in these countries, you start to appreciate how beneficial a lot of these foods are. And so that works for me, but it may not work for you. So this is where that personalization comes in, because you may be vegan, you may be vegetarian, halal, you may, have your issues with seafood, or even different types of meats. And so this definitely needs to be personalized. But regardless of the diet that you have or you want to maintain, you can still have the hair growth. You can still have, that 10x of hair growth. So that's all possible for you. It's just, again, the personalization, which a lot of times those diets don't work for. And what I will say, talking about diets, is that there's a lot of diets, and, that we're all familiar with, whether it's Atkins or, the celery juice diet or anything like that. None of these things work for everybody long term, and just the opposite. A lot of times people come to me and they've done the celery juice diet.
Mhm.
I have a podcast episode on this, and it's just opposite effect. It actually debilitates them. It creates nutrient deficiencies, and it kind of wipes them out. And so this is something that I would heed caution to follow a diet that's, again, a one size fits all, because it's not going to work for you.
100.
If you have this book, that says Epstein-Barr is going to be the basis and the root cause to all the gazillion diseases out there, I question that.
Uh-huh.
I question
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
question wholeheartedly,
I
because
love
that's
that.
not it.
Well, thanks for being an advocate for all of us, because I love how you just have that innate questioner in you, just to you're like, no, this is wrong. But then also that you brought up, okay, if you are going to try the celery juice diet, then be in tune with your body, number one, and then it's not long term.
It can't be long term.
Yeah.
There's a lot of and the thing is, especially women, if you have a lot of women listeners, women are special, very special, in that we have menstrual cycles, and we have hormonal fluctuations, and we are just so unique to men, and we cannot base research that's only focused on men to work for us.
Yes.
And so that's also something that women in general don't understand, is that what a guy can do and what their body can withstand is not the same that we can withstand or do. Not to say that we're lesser, we're not. We're
Mhm.
just unique, and we need to understand these unique variabilities and also support them. Support them, because if they're not supported, then we're going to see a downhill fall.
Oh, goodness, yes, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because so many of the studies for so long were just done on men, so, like, hello, that does not make sense, we are very different people. So, that's so good. Okay, so then is that something that you help in your program, is people, like, with nutrition part as well?
Yes,
Okay,
100%.
cool.
Diet is foundational, lifestyle is foundational, and we wanna make sure we have the basics, correct before we can start building up on top.
Okay, so good. All right, and then, just a fun kind of personal question too. So you have lived all over the place. Like I loved hearing that before when we first met. I was like, oh my gosh, this girl, I love it so much. So what do you love most about living here in Boise, Idaho? And
Um, from a healthcare aspect, I love the choice. As Americans, sometimes we think Europeans have it better. Sometimes we think other countries have it better or the grass is greener somewhere else.
right.
But in reality, I will say, having lived and experienced as an adult, as a mom, with a pregnancy abroad,
Mm,
there is nothing like the US. Maybe I'm a little biased because I am American, but at the same time,
yeah.
we have choice and option. And I don't think any woman would raise their hand if they had the option to say, no, you can't see a doctor for XYZ reason because this is a budgetary issue. And like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the person who resonates with me is going to want more, is going to want better for themselves and wants options. And so this is the beauty of living here in the US. You almost have too many options where you have to like decipher and like sift through all the misinformation and the contradictory information, but at least we have options here. And not to say that there's not options abroad, but it's not going to always be in your favor, if that makes sense, or maybe if you're a citizen of that country. So when I speak about, you know, um, let's say healthcare abroad, it was me as a citizen versus me doing medical tourism. Those are two distinct things. Medical tourism is one thing where, like, if I wanna go have a procedure and I pay out of pocket and everything's great and, it's cheaper abroad,
Yeah.
that's one thing. The other thing is, like, you're a citizen of the country like I was for the Netherlands, and you're subjected to their rules, to their procedures, their policy, and, I mean, I can tell you story after story where my baby was born during COVID, and there was not one nurse wearing a mask, not one nurse wearing gloves.
Mhm.
I've had, I give blood on a regular basis,
Yeah.
and not one hand washing, not one, like, even to touch syringes or anything, there was no gloves, nothing.
Oh my
You know,
goodness. Yeah.
I I think the only time I saw gloves when I actually, like, literally, uh, labored and delivered my baby. I think that was the only time, and my husband and I didn't wear gloves, but the midwife and her assistant did, and that was it. But that was the only time, and so even during a high alert situation like COVID,
Mhm.
people were just running like it was normal, like nothing was happening. And granted, this was Europe, and this, we have had different policies and procedures versus the US, but
Right.
still very alarming, to be in a hospital setting, and on top of it, not everyone is as, conscientious. People were just coughing and yakking just outwardly without covering their mouths. So you were just always a little more, uncomfortable with going out. And so it's these things where as a citizen, you're subjected to their rules and there was no way around it. Whether it was a pregnancy or whether it was a miscarriage and I wanted a second and a third and a fourth opinion,
Mhm.
there was I was there was blocked. I was just completely blocked from getting and seeing doctors or specialists, and to me, this is frustrating. This is frustrating when you come from a country of choice, of options, and you go abroad and then there's no options. So I think that's one of the
Mm.
biggest reasons that I moved, and one of the happiest, things that make me truly appreciate living in the US and being back here. I'd say the other thing is that um, it's much easier to do things in English. I mean, I speak Spanish and Portuguese,
Yeah.
but Spanish and Portuguese is not dominant in Japan or in Netherlands. Uh, so when you have the same local tongue, that's a very easy and helpful.
Right.
I would say the other thing too is the nature. the nature here is astounding, and it's just it's so beautiful, and to have a very secure, safe environment for my child is huge for me. In the Netherlands, it was very safe and secure. It's a country that doesn't allow firearms or weapons, same as Japan. Japan is very safe and secure. I mean, you see elderly people in their walkers with their purse in front of their walker,
Yeah.
and nothing's happening to them. They're all like respected, given the right of way. It's amazing. It's a very unique country with amazing high caliber qualities and values. So, but being back in the US is home. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that so much, especially having that perspective of all the places that you've lived and experiencing the healthcare system as a citizen. I'm glad that you brought that up too, because that's, a lot of, I hear that from people all the time, like, oh, I want to move. America's horrible, or, this is, like you said, grass isn't always greener, and there are a lot of things that we need to be grateful for sure. So that's good. Okay. I would love to wrap it up with a little rapid fire. Couple quick questions. So, what is a wellness habit that you swear by?
wellness habit. I swear. I think as someone who has low blood pressure,
Mhm.
adding extra sea salt to everything. So that's to my water, to my food, and I just feel so much better with it. So extra sea salt in everything is a huge health habit that I love. Sleep is a big one for me too. I love getting my sleep. I think it's extremely important, and I see a difference in me, my mood, and in what I'm able to give more. I love giving. I'm a very generous person, but I can't give when I'm lacking sleep.
Right.
So, the mental clarity is not there, the exhaustion, kind of overshadows everything, all my efforts. And so in order to be peak, I think sleep is big.
That's so good. Yes, and that could be just just a good night's sleep can help so many things. So I love that. Yeah, we can't pour from an empty cup at all. Okay, one thing you wish more women or men knew about their health.
That no one's gonna come save you. That
Mm,
if you're not proactive, and really when I mean proactive, I mean, it's also looking at the next 5 to 10 years,
yeah.
and it's not just waiting for something to happen or for you to feel bad for you to go in and see a doctor. There was a study that came out that showed that men primarily have this hesitancy and reservation of going to see a doctor to get the regular annual checkups and to, do all the things that potentially women are very on top of,
Right.
right? As moms, we were on top of dental appointments and all type of situations that our children and we need. However, I think that we can actually go to a next level. So, for example, with your regular testing, your regular blood work, your regular pap smear, all these things are great.
Hmm.
However, there's a next level of testing, which, there's now, DNA testing, and there's genetic testing, and there's testing for, cancers with just one blood draw. Over 900 different types of cancers. There's also all other types of functional medicine testing that's available to us that I would highly recommend, that if you want to avoid disease of any sort, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, etc., you need to be on top of everything,
Yeah.
hormones, thyroid, and everything else that plays a part, especially as we're in the 40s, getting closer to menopause, or even within. It's like you can have a hormonal issue or a thyroid issue, which affect hair loss, but
Right.
other areas of health as well. And so being on top of these things and demanding full panels versus just, TSH, or just, a very high level of numbers, it's really important to grasp and understand. And if you don't know your numbers, then this too is a problem, because then
Hmm.
again, you're giving your power away, and, letting your doctor be like, everything looks great. See you next time. And in those like 10-15 minute visits, that's not enough.
Right.
And so we definitely need to do more for ourselves. You wouldn't believe the numerous amounts of tests that I've seen and evaluated from clients where I'm like, wait, you have E. coli. Did they miss this? You have this. Did they miss this? And it's just like, all these doctors that they've gone to have missed so many things. And again, it goes back to time, it goes back to experience, it goes back to, maybe it's their education level too, of having a well-rounded situation where we as Americans maybe were more, let's say, on alert with listeria and E. coli, and maybe in other countries they're like, oh, you're good. Just like in the Netherlands, when me and my whole family, we got strep, They didn't do anything for us. There was no antibiotics. There was nothing. They're like, oh, it'll just resolve by itself. And I'm just like, no, it's not going to resolve by itself. It may, but like there's lingering effects and there's even side effects to my kidneys or to my heart that can happen.
Yeah.
And so it's like I flew back to California, I got some healthcare and I was able to get some antibiotics, but it's just like, why do I have to fly halfway across the world in order to
Wow.
have this happen?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I go back to the options. When there's no options, like there was no options for me in the Netherlands, like thankfully I have the option to get back to the US and
Yes.
get healthcare and get a doctor and get what I need. But at the same time, you imagine the other millions of people who don't have those options? And this is why I offer, the testing worldwide, and I offer so
Mm,
much because I didn't have the options, and I know how frustrating that is. When you can't have answers to what you're looking for, and potentially, like I said, even with hair loss, or even let's say if you have hair loss plus, 2, 3, 4 other health conditions or concerns, you wanna know exactly what's going on and how this stems and those root causes, because it's normally more than one. And so in order to do this, you need good, valuable testing, and if you're not getting it from your providers in your country, well, then you're gonna have to look outside.
yeah, 100%. And not just accepting the like quote unquote normal labs,
That's
just like right in there within that little like, you're fine. There's nothing wrong. So yeah, questioning again and being an advocate for your own health. So that's so good. Okay. Last one. Is there a belief or habit that you have outgrown and something that you're replacing it with?
a belief. Did you say belief or habit
Belief
or
or
just
habit that you might have outgrown and anything that you're replacing it with. I'll put you on the spot there.
belief or habit? I would say, I've always had this inner voice, this inner knowing that I can do anything. Anything I set my mind to. And I've actually replaced that to I'm unlimited potential. I am absolutely unlimited potential. And it's like, really, I can do anything, but much more. It's not just anything and then like just get hair loss
Yeah.
and have, let's say, stringy hair. No, I can get like the full Monty of hair, if that makes sense. So it's not just a little bit. Let's not just, get to the Olympics or, achieve a goal.
Yeah. 10x that.
Let's go big. Yeah, let's go big. So I know that's possible. I think habits that I've outgrown is, especially in the biohacking community, is to not necessarily think that I need to resemble the men who are biohacking, and really personalize this, because once you start being more aware, self-aware of your body and how it's affected, even ever so slightly, because it whispers to us. It's not necessarily yelling at us all the time.
Yeah.
Then you start to see where some things work for you and maybe at a lower dosage, and other things work for you maybe at a higher intervals. And and even with anything from high intensity workouts to cryo or to anything else, it's like you want to really personalize this.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest key here is personalization. And that's why it's really personalized when working with me, because that's the only way. So I do believe there is a cure to hair loss, to alopecia, to scarring alopecia, to all this.
Mm-hmm.
But we're missing the mark when it's not personalized.
1000%. That's so good. Okay. So I love that. And everything that you have just shared with us today. Is there any just last little bit of things that we have not touched on, or anything you would like to say to that person who was you back in the day that are searching for answers and wondering if healing is possible?
Absolutely. What I'd like to say to anyone listening out there, it's never too late and you're not too old. So a lot of times people come to me and they're in their 80s, they're in their 70s or 60s. They're like, is it too late? Am I too old? No, you're not. Even if you've been bald for, 50 years, 40 years, as I've seen, it's never too late to heal. Just like it's never too late to learn a new language, to learn a new skill, to play the guitar, to go traveling. It's never too late. It's just about you, your desire, your want, and your belief in yourself that you can do it.
Oh, so good. And the sky's the limit. Anything's possible. But then even more 10x that. I love that. And that's always what people say. It's like sometimes, we just didn't dream big enough, right? Like we didn't set the bar even higher, because we can do that. So good. Okay. So we will make sure we link, where people can find you, but can you just kind of let people know, and then how people could sign up for your program if it's available, or if there's a wait list, things like that?
There is a wait list. You can go to alopeciaangel.com. There I have links to my Instagram, which is alopecia_angel. I have YouTube and Facebook. And you can always email us at hello@alopeciaangel.com. And we're happy to get you into the program as soon as possible.
Oh, man. So good. Johanna, thank you so much for just showing up so fully today, sharing what's very real. And I know it's going to touch so many people, whether themselves or helping other people. So we'll just make sure to link every single thing that Johanna and I have talked about today and how people can connect with you. And for people tuning in, please share this with a friend who needs to hear this, because this is how we grow together. See you next time in Life Lounge. Thank you, Johanna.
Thank you.